Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Let's Talk. Now, first and foremost, forgive me, because, I haven't spoken a word today, and my voice is still waking up, but, this is your warning to step away, from this video. This is going to be a Let's Talk, of course, and it's going to be talking about something that it's not gamey, it's not like update kind of things, it's just me kind of ranting and raving, similar to the last one we did, talking about exercise and how important that was to me. But yes, it's just going to be a self-absorbed, introverted look at myself, and it's kind of all connected, weirdly enough. So you guys know a couple Let's Talks back, I talked to you guys about how I felt kind of like, just not really there, and like in a funk kind of thing, like just not in the right alignment, and it felt frustrating. There'd be moments where I'd have like a huge open slot of time on my hands, which is rare for me, and just didn't have the motivation to use it, or didn't really have the insight or knowledge to use it. Just kind of like a funk, just this weird like static that you can't really get out of. And of course, throughout the course, I thought of many different things of what this could be. Now, this could maybe me being burnt out to a certain extent, maybe, although it just didn't feel right. A lot of the things that I came to the conclusion of didn't feel like they were the key to the problem. They felt like they were close but not quite on target. I think that it is all affecting this thing, but what really changed everything happened 3 days ago. And again, the whole time I've been in this weird funk, and I found it really hard to be motivated and to have, like, it just, again, like, you're off balance, you're not in this right place, you want to do things, but you don't have the mental, not even drive, aim, almost. Aim is a good word to point. Like, you have all this energy, but you don't know where to aim it, because for whatever reason, that's not firing in your head. Which for me, it usually always is. I always know where I'm going and I want to get to. But, like I said, 3 days ago, finally, something happened. The night that it happened, I was sitting there and I was like, you know what? I'm in this weird place again where I just don't know. Like, I have time, but I don't know what to spend it on, and I end up just kind of sitting there feeling like I'm wasting time, but I'm not knowing where to go with that said time either. Just basically being in a funk. So I was like, okay, you know, one of the things I used to do a little bit in the past was to just meditate, but not meditate in the way that I think people say to meditate, which is, meditation is to clear thy mind and to not think of anything and relax. My personal belief is that human beings aren't exactly meant to do this. Even when we dream, we think of all manner of things. So I don't really believe that. So instead, I love the concept of what meditation is, which is the shutting down of all senses so that you can think of one particular thing. Throwing away sight, throwing away hearing, throwing away every other thing, like potentially breathing, soreness, focusing on all that other stuff, blocking it out, and focusing on one thing. I was sitting there, crisscrossed. Actually, not really. I lean on something for support, so my back isn't like getting fucked, sitting in a T-pose or whatever, in like a cross position. Anyways, so I was sitting there, and I was like, okay, well, what do I want to think about? Because we only think about this one thing. And in the past, I don't know, I'm a weirdo, so I've pondered the inquiry of the 7 deadly sins. I used to think of like the value of greed and why it's important, and think about all angles from it and how it's a superpower, but if done too much can create a monster and da-da-da-da. But anyways, I was like, okay, we gotta think of something to think about, this one thing. And I thought, what is it that you truly want? That was the one thing that I thought about. I wanted it to be honest, like extremely honest. So I relaxed everything in my head and I just sat there and I was like, okay, what do I really want? What is it that I want in my deepest desire? And in the past, what I've thought were good things to strive for were like success, kindness, things like that, something that's attainable, but also, but the one that came to mind was extraordinarily selfish, which is great, and it was to be happy. So I was sitting there in my grandiose thing. The one thing that I really wanted was to be happy, and I was like, okay, and it felt weird when when it finally popped in my head. It was like foreign, like like kind of thing, like this weird, get away from me. Like that's not an appropriate goal. Your goal should be the pursuit of things that, or something that can give you happiness, not happiness. And then I was sitting there for a little bit, and I kept thinking about it, and not only did it feel good just to kind of speak honestly in a selfish way, because to be happy, someone could say is not selfish, but to me, it is, because I enjoy offering something to another person. It makes me feel good, but that was very freeing for me, is the feeling of being like, you know what I really want? I want to be happy. That's it. I just want to be happy. And it felt weird, it felt foreign, and that really helped. That was kind of the start of it. And then the following day, I started thinking about it just in the background of my head while I was doing things, and I came to the conclusion that I was extremely imbalanced. And how do I say it? What is the perfect way to talk about what I'm trying to explain? I don't know if there is one, but I suppose, like, for me as a person, and I've talked about this many times, me trying to self-analyze myself, there is, like, to me, again, when I close my eyes and I think about it, it personifies itself as blue, like a cyan kind of blue. I don't know why, but it's what this aspect of my personality, the left-hand side of my brain or whatever, is. It's this weird, kind of beautiful blue. And it is everything that I feel is what cold is, but the value of cold. So instead of being like rude, it's instead constructive, and it's instead trying to build a top. I mean, you guys have heard me say this a lot, but become the person that you want to become. For those guys who do not know, in the past I've struggled with the question, especially when I was younger, of who am I? And then when life finally started to make sense, I asked myself, who do I want to become? And that was kind of the journey there. And that whole premise has gotten taken over by this blue, this sense of mechanical nature to everything. Like, well, who do you want to become? I want to become structured and dependable. Great, let's start with that. So then you go through little steps in your life, like, you know, uploading consistently, making sure that you always have that video for that day, being consistent. It's the same thing as like being there for someone in your life, except on a much grander scale, because it takes a lot of time and effort to make a video every single day. And yeah, but that was something. And then the other thing was like, okay, you know what? Now I want to start controlling my environment. So then you clean your room. Jordan Peterson talks about this a lot. He's an amazing person. But then you start with things like, okay, well, how about physical exercise and your look? Because, you know, you want to look together. You want to look like you have your shit down pat. You don't want to be wearing like baggy clothes and like your hood up and being like all like like just embodying your actual emotions of like, get away from me, I hate everything, which is sometimes extremely what I feel. So then you start with that, and again, all of these incremental improvements to being the person that I wanted to become is great, but it also has like an infected part of it that happened a long time ago, where this blue also wavers on, like, for me, it's like a purple. It's, again, I don't know why, but when I close my eyes and I think about these things, they embody colors. But to me, this is like voidish purple. And when I first started making YouTube videos, I was extremely, extremely critical of myself because I wanted to improve. I wanted to become better. I wanted to make content that was worth seeing. And at the time, again, if you guys go watch back my first video, it's terrible in every sense. But also, I wouldn't have it any other way. Well, let's go back first. But yeah, I thought it was horrible, and then that critical perception of me infected the person that I would like to be, or that quest to become the person that I would like to be. And boy, did it really get in there. And then at some point, when I was just going about my merry way, trying to improve myself, some itty-bitty things, like, for instance, for those guys who do not know, I'll brandish this with pride, I was one of the late bloomers when it comes to your driver's license. I have just last year, a couple months ago, like maybe 7 or so months, I just got my learners. Now the reason why is because I just never had the inkling or desire to get my license. And I was never in a front-facing position where I had to. Also, the prospect of controlling a death box, or I can potentially harm people, is not ideal for me. Also, I have a very strong flinch, yada yada yada, a bunch of reasons why I didn't do it. But at last, I was like, you know what, there's another little baby thing that I can check off the list and try to, do, because I know it's important. I know it's nice to have the ease of access to strive across the planet if you desire in a vehicle. But I just put it off, but I finally got it done. Again, the helpfulness to the mechanical blue cyan mind that very much helped fundamentally make me who I am now. But there was another part, and it happened when I started exercising, which is really makes sense to me, at least in hindsight, because when I started exercising, I started to develop this kind of hate-hate relationship with myself, because, again, like I mentioned in the last Let's Talk when we were talking exercising, the first week is shit, like it's horrible, and you're having to convince yourself to do something horrible every single time, and then it reflects poorly on you because you're sore as fucking shit, and on top of that you're exhausted, and all these things. But it's also, more than anything in the world, it's one of those things where when you finally breach the threshold, bang, you feel amazing and you're better for it. And it's also a challenge that's worth overcoming, I believe. But, with that being said, in the past, it kicked my head in, and it created this hate-hate relationship. But that was also the time when it started to become really overwhelming. I started to get really sad, and not sad, but just beaten, like a beaten dog. Like you're just like, life, please, for a minute, give me a second to breathe. was the mentality. But lo and behold, again, I think through the same means of me meditating, because I think I just listened to a podcast a long time ago, and I meditated, and one of the things that they talked about in the podcast was the importance of self-love. And to me, one of the things that the person in the podcast said was that how strange it is for people every day, your everyday person, to actually say, I love myself. And to me, being controlled and really loving that part of my brain that's making me better, it's that blue part it's efficient and thinks that there is not a lot of efficiency in thinking that you are the best, because that will slow you down in the pursuit to become better. That's the mechanical mind in my head talking. But, and again, that's a lie, I think, so badly that we're given, is the notion of the only way to succeed and to become better is to crumble and break the thing that you were beforehand. Break it down to create something better. Burn it all down kind of thing. And I don't think that's true in the slightest, and I think that's, if you think about it in the most mechanical, logical way, in the mechanical aspect of your brain, it doesn't make sense that only destruction can breed salvation or improvement. That's not the case. You should try to improve the thing that's in front of you now, and when it's truly broken and lost, that's when you maybe break it down and start all over again. Which is what people who are on drugs for 10 years have to do, or smoke have to figure out a way to get around that's actually healthy, rather than just being like, okay, instead of smoking 2 packs a day, I'll smoke 1 pack a day. It's like, no, you need to fix something because it needs to happen, etc. But that's a little tangent. Sorry. So that podcast I was talking about how innate and weird it is for a great number of people to actually identify and say, I love myself, because it just feels foreign and it doesn't feel right. And when you truly think about that, that's immensely sad, that most people don't have that profound respect and love and kindness for their own self, because if you break it down in your head, even if the whole world's against you, you still have you. So the fact that not only is the world potentially, or could be potentially against you, but you're also against yourself as well, fucking crazy. It's super not efficient. That's like going against your survival nature, at least to me. But yeah, also forgive me if I'm sweaty. It's morning. It's the middle of the day and this light is hot. And we're getting real. Also, we're getting real. So after I heard all that, and I actually was really kind of captivated by the thought of how wrong it is to not be on your team, to be on your own team. Not humanity's team, not the animals' team, not political team, but for you. What is important to you? And maybe this is just me. This could definitely be the case, where everyone can come to the conclusion of, yeah, you should always have your own back. You should always like who you are. Boom, 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 boom. But to me, that was extremely foreign, extremely foreign. So then that very night, right after I was done exercising, I of course tried to meditate in the way that I do, which is thinking about one thing, and that was the personification of self-love, I guess. And to me, the cold part of my brain was trying to combat it for sure. The blue started to combat that part, saying like, you know, this notion of like self-love can turn into pride, or kind of like ego can really inflame the ego, and you could think I'm better than other people, which to me is extremely inefficient. Blue part of my brain talking, but still. But I'm better than other people, so boom, 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 boom. But then there was the other part of me where it's like, I mean, what does it hurt? What does it hurt just to tap that, just to see if it's worth anything? What happens if we do truly convince ourselves that we're on our team, I love thyself and all that, and instead of destroying to rebuild, we just build on top of what we already have. And lo and behold, this ushered in me into like the best part of, and it was, yeah, I like when I exercised, I wanted to do it. It was enjoyable. I tried to find the love and the fun in doing something that wasn't exactly ideal, like exercising at the beginning. Again, I talked to you guys about finding a punching bag and just finding fun and solace in like the playful nature of bop, 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 and the rhythmic nature to it all. But time cycled forward, and I forgot that a lot. I forgot the whole self-love thing a lot. So I became right back to where I was just in the mechanical part of my brain. It was commanding every single aspect of what I did. Where it was like, okay, you need to do this. Especially now with my situation where I'm working a job, as well as doing YouTube, as well as managing exercising, as well as managing streaming to a little bit of an extent, as well as managing trying to make content that is better and trying to improve. Bit of things there. And lo and behold, I forgot. I forgot, because it was, that part of my brain had so much value, but it's balance. And that's, I think, why, like, because to me, like, the truth that I found wasn't that, like a couple Let's Talks ago, I talked about the importance of sharpening your axe, and how I love that saying. That, you know, if you're a lumberjack cutting down trees all day, your axe is going to eventually go dull, and you're going to get tired. Now, you can keep cutting down trees, or you can sharpen your axe so that you don't have to swing as hard, and you don't have to exert yourself that much, because you're letting yourself recover by kneeling and sharpening your axe. I love that saying, but for me, it's different, and it is my truth. I don't know if this is Let's Talk, by the way. I don't know in any sense if my truth is your truth. I just trying to figure out who the heck, who I can be, and how best to be that, I guess, is what this is. And me doing repair jobs along the way, which is kind of Let's Talks, in a sense, a therapy, if you will. But I found for that whole thing, that discussion of sharpening your axe, for me personally, sharpening your axe isn't just the notion of you're burnt out and you need to take a break, but instead it's finding a new skill, learning something that's different, aka making yourself more sharp, sharpening the axe. It's not just kneeling down and taking a break and then jumping back into it. To me, it's learning a new skill that can help you have an easier time doing or cutting down the tree, you know, like better swing, better wrist muscle, so that you can add that little knock onto when you're hitting, something like that. So for me, recently I've been starting to learn a different program for Photoshop, basically, so I can hopefully make thumbnails better, as well as maybe, if I can, I'll try my hardest to do so, to make better banner art for our channel, because we have one that's quite the same for a long time, as well as I want to make badges, right? Like, that's been a thing for a long time that I've been trying to personally create, which is taking me time to learn. That's also why I was thrust into that, and I came to that conclusion of, for me, the whole sharpening of the axe was learning a new skill, getting out of your comfort zone in that sense, and trying to get out of your day-to-day, what you're already good at, bang, 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 and trying to just learn something new. But again, this all became so much better when I came to that conclusion right after I meditated a couple days ago. And I came to the conclusion of that my desire is to be happy. I think is a lot of people's desire. Their true, honest, selfish desire is to be happy, I think, for a great deal of people. So yes, after I did that, and I had that moment of honesty with myself, the following days, I was trapped by this thought, this thing that ate away at me, where I was trying to figure out, like, why, what does that mean? Like, what does just being happy mean? And I was sitting there listening to music, and I thought, you know what? let's try to repair our brain to a certain extent. And this is where it gets weird, like very weird for me included. But I started to realize that, I don't know, I just came to the conclusion, I don't remember how it happened, but I just came to the conclusion of, I guess I was looking through my brain and I tried to identify things, and I came to the conclusion that that mechanical thing, that blue, was blue. It just, when I close my eyes and I think about it, it is that blue part of my brain that's just taking hold of all these little threads, and yeah. And then I started, again, remembering the value of self-love, and I thought, okay, I've completely forgot that now. So I was like, okay, what if I, close my eyes and I try to see what the hell that looks like? And if maybe in doing so that I can see it and I can feel what that is, I can maybe try to foster that flame to therefore make it balanced again. So I did, and weirdly enough, I closed my eyes and I sat there, and it was, honestly, it was probably a long time. It was probably like 2 hours of just sitting there in my head, trying to think about what that is, and then, for whatever reason, its color, or its representation when I close my eyes and I see it, is this kind of yellowy, orangish gold. I don't know why. It is that color, blue and orangey gold, cyan and this orangey gold thing. It's kind of the same thing that my channel thread like usually is, where like my thumbnail, it's like split. It's that same kind of like yellowy gold thing. I don't know. I don't know, guys. My head's weird, I guess. But I sat there and I was like, okay, that's what that looks like. And I started going through things like, again, the whole nature of saying I love myself, and going through why that's important, and again, the whole notion of, as long as, if the whole world's against you, you should at least have your own back. And if you really start to, kindle those embers, you can stand up against anything. And instead of letting the cold part of your brain crush out the old you, instead you can just build atop that old you, gaining that much ground. Rather than this preconceived notion that I think a lot of us have, where in order to attain something, you need to destroy the previous thing. Kind of like, in order to, I don't know, in order to wake up every single day at this specific time, you need to wake up with a loud alarm for you to get up, and you're fucking really pissed and you're annoyed, but it's the only way you can wake up, and you get up there, but you got up on time that day. Bang, you got the result. That old person that used to sleep in all the time, bang, he's dead. Congratulations, you're moving forward. Rather than keeping the other part of yourself, where you're like, you know what, let's go through everything. Let's try to be kind to ourselves rather than just trying to brute force this result. So instead, you're like, okay, let's put 3 alarms every 4 or 5 minutes, because we always hit snooze. And let's not put it on the most brutal sound ever. Bang. Okay, the second one didn't work, the first one didn't work, but the second one did. Bang, you're up. Now instead of being like, alright, now that I'm in a bad mood, instead be like, okay, well, let's throw some water on our face, let's get up, let's stretch our arms out, let's make sure we're not going to pull on anything, and you go through your day, and you're like, alright, let's accomplish these little tasks. So it's like, okay, I'm going to go make myself something to eat. Bang, do it, accomplished, nice, good job, check that off the list, and it creates this feeling of accomplishment, and you're already putting yourself on a path of less destruction than you would to be like, wake the fuck up, asshole, kind of that mentality. You don't have to be evil to yourself, I think. And again, that's very much the headspace and the thing that I feel I was in. But again, I'm just trying to self-diagnose and understand my head. Ultimately, the whole point of this video was kind of just to, it's mostly for me, if not absolutely for me, which is the importance of self-love. And I know it sounds so weird, and again, I hear people talk about it. Like, it happened a couple weeks ago where I was like, damn, if only I would have listened. Because this person that I was watching talked about it. He's like a motivational person. He talks about things, but he talked about how he forgot that as well, about how important it is to love yourself, and how loving yourself gets it sounds inflated, and the minute that you say it, people already start building these preconceived notions in their head of what that exactly means. But I think it just means that you're on your team, and you're not trying to destroy yourself. You're trying to build atop your empire, not crumble it to pieces. Which for me, I have the tendency to do. I have the tendency to be like, crush that, we don't want that anymore, it's bad for us, rather than being like, well, maybe there's reasons why we had that. Maybe we should try to find a way to build atop that rather than just crumble it to dust. Which was, again, my mentality, I think. But no, man, like, again, my funk that I was in, I don't want to say is gone, because I don't think it's ever gone, but I think that's what it was. It was the no longer having that self-love, that want to improve yourself and not just to destroy yourself. Because again, the mentality of, in order to become successful or good in anything, you need to be hard on yourself, you need to be strict, you need to be militant, you need to be bang, bang, bang. I don't think that's the case. I think people who have that conception are the same people that try to justify things that are bad, that happen to them that are bad, which is fair, and that's okay, and some of those people are immensely successful, but I don't think that's the case. Like, I think you are here in spite of the pieces of yourself that are broken, not because that they are shattered, you know, or broken. I don't think that's correct either. I think that, yeah, But then again, what do I know? I'm but 21. Fuck me. But I'm still trying to figure out the world. But yeah, that's something that I would so advise. If you find that you're in, because I see a lot of YouTubers who are in the same place where they say they're in a funk, and that they just feel kind of like they need a break, and then they come back and they're more or less the same. Like, it doesn't look like they really recovered. And I think a lot of them are just that. I think you get so, and I think YouTube rewards so much the mechanical aspect of your brain. You know, daily uploads, keep yourself regimented, keep yourself on this clock. That it very much doesn't prioritize the happiness and self-love, and actually, like, you know, taking a minute, especially if you're feeling really bad, and close your eyes for as long as you need, give yourself something, you know, be like, hey, good job, you did it, you know, you may have not done this, don't worry about that, focus on the things that you did do well. And again, this varies person to person. I think for some people who have a voice that's stronger than the other one, but for me, oh my god, is that cold blue so loud to me, which I love that cold blue. It's one of the channel representations for our character, the backdrop and all. But I think balance is key. I think the balance of you being kind and happy and loving to yourself, as well as strict and guided and pushing forward, is equally important. But goddamn, if you don't have one, it's bad. You can slowly start digging a hole to the deepest pocket of the world. And I don't think that's good either. And it's funny because in the whole idea of the blue being this regimented, trying to strive for success, trying to be better, in again the notion of, in order to become better, you need to destroy aspects of yourself, is completely misguided. Like, for me, quite an introvert. I'm quite to myself. I enjoy the Netflix and chill and all that stuff. I like anime, I like games and video creation, and I don't really enjoy, like, busy things outside of that. Like, I don't know. Well, I shouldn't say that either. I do enjoy talking to people a great deal as well, so I shouldn't say that. I guess I don't like, for instance, if I go to the mall and there's a crowd of people, I'm not gonna like die, but I am gonna be like, I don't prefer this. You know what I mean? I know some people are like extremely introverted, and for me, I definitely have my ups and downs, but I've never felt more like I could handle my fears when I knew that I had my back, and again, sounds weird, but that I loved myself, and then I felt like, you know what, at the end of the day, regardless of whatever peril lays before me, I know that I'm here, and that I have my back, and that I'm going to be supporting myself. It's kind of like, to a certain extent, you need to be that nurturing side. Like, you know, you're the father typically is the one who's trying to tell you how to be good and tell you how to, you know, do good and give you structure, and then the mother is supposed to be kind and caring. You need to be that way for yourself. And I think if you're able to harness both, if you're able to truly memorize the feeling of feeling loved, and when you're happy, memorizing that feeling of being happy and feeling like you're safe, and that you're okay, and that you're not a mistake, and that you're not broken, and that you're gonna be fine, and that you're strong, and that you can do all these things with the guided hand of pushing you forward mechanically, and understanding the things that lay before you, are extremely powerful and extremely good. And that's how you should, I think that's the optimal way to become the person that you want to be, because I definitely don't think one side can do it. But yeah, it's this constant battle of, like, blue, the cyan blue that's mechanical and slightly cold but goddamn deficient. And then there's this other part that I'm doing my best now to nurture, which is that nurturing part of yourself, that thing that is kind to yourself, that cares about you, that tries to find the best for you, that tells you that you did good when you did good, that tells you that you're worth something, that tells you that you're not broken, that tells you that you're becoming the thing that you want to become, and the thing that tells you to keep the parts of yourself that otherwise you may want to destroy. It's something, and I'm trying. I'm trying to nurture that part of myself. And again, the only reason why I want to talk about this is because I've seen a substantial benefit, I suppose, from this. Yeah. A little bit of a more serious Let's Talk, but hopefully that helped for some of you guys. If you're in the same boat as me, if you find yourself in a funk, make sure you're balanced. Make sure you have those two parts of yourself in harmony. Because if you don't, I don't think it creates good things. It certainly didn't for me. But at least for right now, that's my key to the infinite puzzle that is happiness. One that is all too obvious. That hey, should at least be on your team, you know? Should at least be on your team for the time being. Yeah, thank you so much for your time, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you could put through with me trying to piece together my thoughts and the question that I was pondering, which is, selfishly enough, I just want to be happy. Yeah, thank you so much for your time. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Subscribe button above me and 2 videos to my right, and goodbye.